Welcome to Jeremy Chats with Coaches.
Today I have with me Kelsey Lima. Is that correct? Kelsey Lima?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Fantastic. Before we really jump in, can you just share with me and my listeners a little bit about who Kelsey Lima is and how you came to the world of coaching?
Yes, thank you so much. I'm super excited to be here with you. It's so funny because I feel like it's so cliche, but it was a journey to get here. I actually started out as a respiratory therapist, and I was working in the hospital in the intensive care, emergency, things like that. And after I had my son, I had this real natural birth and I was totally shamed in the hospital for it. And I decided I wanted to do something else. And I ended up pursuing coaching. And that was something that my mom that was her biggest dream, was to be a life coach. And this was way before it was popular, right? Yeah. So I've always been good at this type of stuff and the mindset and understanding and the psychology. And I became a master practitioner of neurolinguistic programming and I started my business, and it's been 6 years.
Fantastic. Yeah, there's a reason things become cliche. It's because they are true.
Totally. Yeah. I'm like, oh, it's so funny because all of us coaches, it's so similar. We all have a story, right? An origin story, what brought us here.
And that's exactly why I asked that question.
Yeah, I love it. Yes.
All right. So, Kelsey, that's great that your mom, sorry, are you American or Canadian?
I'm Canadian.
Yeah, right. I'm an American, but I've lived in Australia for 19 years. So I'm always correct myself. Like if I'm talking to my mother, I call her mom, but otherwise I say mum. Anyway, yes. It's fantastic that your mum was wanting to be a life coach, because that way you actually got to know about it much earlier than most people. Most people don't even know the whole thing exists, or at least, as you say, it's getting more popular these days. But that's good. You've always been doing it, and you knew it existed as a career.
Yeah, well, it's how she raised me too, which is why I think I'm like, she literally, as a small child, she raised me to make continuous improvement every single day. Like Kaizen.
That's good.
That was, yeah, like around the house, there was like Kaizen posters, and it was like continuous improvement every day. And that was the thing. Choose a better word, find a better word. How can we make this positive? It was just like almost exhausting, but also now I'm so grateful for it.
That's good. So who are your clients? Who's drawn to you to be their coach?
Yeah, so in these 6 years, I have worked with an array of different people, and I feel like I worked with a lot of men for a very long time, but now I very much really just focus on women. And the women that come and work with me are generally, the age doesn't really matter. There's so many facets, right? They can be in their early 20s in school, all the way up until like their 50s, but they're women who they want more, but they want wealth, they want the dream life, they want the relationship, but they don't really fit anywhere. They're here to pave their own way type thing.
Yeah. So, yeah, describe that a little bit more. Why don't they fit?
Yeah, so it's really cool because a lot of the clients that I've had that have been really interesting. So women come to me initially, they want to find their relationship, they want to find a man, but then they also want to find themselves and become themselves and build a business. So I end up really, it's like a very holistic approach when I work with women. It's all aspects of themselves, but there'll be these really interesting women, like in the sense, one of them is a psychic, but she also works in corporate. And then another one is, it's so like, what? And then she does like these
That's like you with natural birth and working in a hospital.
Yeah, like it just doesn't work. It doesn't match. But I also had one there, and all my clients are like this. They're all like, one of them is a fitness instructor, but she also does like heart healing with her clients. So it's like they're there for the dream body, but then she's doing super deep healing of their emotions and their heart. It's just very cool. So yeah, they usually come because they want me to help them break free from these limits that they have themselves in.
That's so good. That reminds me of my favorite quote that I've mentioned a few times on here, which is, why are you trying so hard to fit in when you were born to stand out?
Yeah, I have chills, 100%. So it's like a permission slip. And the way that I live my life, and if people follow me online, I really do give that permission slip to just break the rules, be yourself.
Yeah, that's it. That is pretty much the first thing I had to work on with my coach, because we're trained for 18 years that you have to ask for permission to have an extra helping, to have dessert, to even to go to the bathroom at school. Have to have permission for everything. So then as an adult, we have trouble figuring out that we can give ourselves that approval. Nobody else has to give us that approval to do anything.
Yeah, which is not an easy task, right? It's,
Not after 18 years of training in the opposite.
Yeah, no, it's not. And that's why there's so many layers and so many facets of why we don't give ourselves that approval, or because there's fears and fears of going against the grain, fears of going against the mother, the father, society. There's so much there. It's easier said than done.
Yeah, and so much of that, even when you hear it in your own voice, it's actually your parents or your grandparents or society at large or whatever that's telling you, no, you have to fit in, you have to be like everybody else. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that that's your clients.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, they're pretty cool. I love them. They're great.
So if you had to boil your philosophy of coaching, or the core philosophy behind your coaching specifically, if you had to boil it down to just one sentence, what would you say is the core philosophy behind your coaching?
So it's a really good question. So I would say that and I don't know that there's a sentence, but the core thing that
That's okay. If it's a paragraph, go ahead.
It's hard. I'm like, the biggest thing that I heal and that I will like literally scream off the rooftops for my entire life is that the only thing that people need to heal in order to give themselves permission to be themselves, have the relationship that they want, have the life that they want, they have to heal fragmentation. So everything that I do comes down to healing parts. And it's like ego, like every single person has the part of me that wants to eat the cake, part of me that wants to lose weight, part of me that wants to be in a relationship, part of me doesn't want to go through a divorce like my parents. We're all just so fragmented. And so my coaching and my method that I use is called the mirror method that I developed. And what I do is I use the external world, like your life, as a mirror to show me what you believe about yourself. So you can come to me and you can tell me, let's say, Jeremy, let's say you're my client, let's say, and you say, okay, Kelsey, I have 10 clients. Okay, I'm like, just numbers here. You're like, I have 10 clients. You're like, my girlfriend isn't or my wife, whatever, is always like nagging and nitpicking me or something. And you're like, my finances aren't where I want them. Okay. You give me these examples. I'll start looking at things. I'll be like, okay, what is your business currently making you feel to be true about yourself? So let's say your business isn't doing as well as you'd like, or let's say you're like, okay, I'm like multiple 6, 7 figures, but I want to be doing 8 or whatever. Okay. You can still be doing great, but you want more. It'll be like the beliefs about yourself might be, oh, I have to work really hard, or nothing ever works out for me, or maybe feeling like a failure or whatever it is. So then that tells me that there's parts of you, and these are unconscious parts, that believe these things about yourself. So, and this with my female clients is, okay, part of them doesn't feel worthy, or part of them doesn't feel whatever it is. So if the man is showing up in a certain way, I tell them, your man can't give you anything that you haven't yet given yourself. So what is this relationship making you feel about yourself? I'm not loved. I'm not wanted. I'm not this. I'm not that. Okay, then I ask them, is there a part of you that doesn't feel wanted? Yeah. Okay, then we go heal that. And then the relationship shifts like almost instantly. It's crazy, honestly. It's so beautiful.
Yep. So if I were to put it into a sentence, I would say that your philosophy is everyone needs to be put back together again.
Yeah, I love that. 100%.
It made me think of Humpty Dumpty. You're better than the king's horses and the king's men because you can help people put themselves back together again.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's really what it is. And then they can come from a place of wholeness and create a life from there, which is
fantastic.
Really
Can you, using an alias, a fake name, could you share a success story where one of your clients, the coaching that you did with the client made a difference in their life, their career, their relationship, whatever it was they were wanting to change?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's been so many, but there's been a few recent ones that I'm really excited about. So one client came to me on her way to become a doctor, but knowing that she had these parts of herself that didn't feel like she could ever do it, right? Really not the best parents that support them, things like that. And so there was this belief system of not feeling good enough, not being capable, things like that. And over our work together, we discovered that the entire purpose of trying to become a doctor was to try to prove that they were enough. But interestingly enough, we're trying to prove that we're enough, but then we don't feel like we're enough. So they were having a lot of sabotaging tendencies, right? So we ended up healing the root cause of the wounds of not enough, which was like around the father. And then we cleared through all of their sabotage because they had some pretty sabotaging moments where they just didn't go to work, they didn't go to the exam, they didn't go to all the things. And they just messaged me today to tell me, I'm like gonna cry, that they're done. They became a doctor. And I'm like, holy, that is so beautiful. So that is one of them.
Now what?
Yeah, I know.
That was a woman?
Yeah.
So now that she's a doctor and she's proven she's enough to be a doctor, now what?
Yeah. So now what's really cool, and this is one of the things that I teach too. Yeah. Because then once you let go of the desire to prove that you're enough, then you literally just get to be enough. And this is when you get to live, right?
Yeah.
So it's like when we clear that belief of not being enough, then now you get to actually just live, right? And you just get to be alive. So now she's so excited because now she's going to start building a brand and, right, just like being alive and traveling and reconnecting with the love of her life. And like now there's time and energy and space for life and for newness and for joy, which is so cool. Because generally when we're operating within those wounded parts of ourselves, it's Groundhog Day, it's sabotage, it's pain, it's trauma, it's drama, right? So yeah, that's one client. I've recently just had another client message me saying that I saved her marriage. She's so happy. Yeah, that one was, they were ready to split their assets, and now are like back in love, good to go. And that one also was, the marriage was proving different parts about herself, not being loved, not being wanted, you name it. And when we cleared that, there was a fresh energy in the relationship, and the man was able to show up differently, because we really do, especially as women, we really do birth our realities and our relationships through our perceptions. Men as well, but women, I like that word, like they birth their relationship, they birth their reality. So when we shift that, everything changes. So that was a really beautiful one as well recently.
Yeah. And how long were you working with her?
So that one, 4 months.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's like such a massive transformation, because I remember the first day when they came to me, it was like, truly, I'm coming to you because I'm ready to split my assets. Help me. And I said, you don't need to do that. We're going to save your marriage. And we did.
Wow.
Yeah, which was so cool. I knew it. I know the work that I do works.
That's incredible, Kelsey.
Thank you. Yeah, it was really cool. And yeah, like I think that's what clients need too, is that confidence, right? Knowing that you can do it.
So can you tell me then, amongst your clients, have you noticed a pattern? Are there some common challenges that your clients?
So the biggest one, which was like this really cool moment back probably in October, November, I had this really deep realization about emotional unavailability within women. And I ended up signing on like 20 clients for my group program, because they were all showing up with the exact same issue, which was they were all realizing, oh my gosh, I'm emotionally unavailable. And all of these women were saying that they wanted relationships. They were all saying that they were open to commitment, open to love, and they were all showing up emotionally unavailable, terrified of love, terrified to be seen, terrified to be vulnerable, terrified of being hurt. And this is probably the biggest thing that I see in women, and it doesn't present the same as men at all, which is, I think, why women don't know that they're actually the ones that are emotionally unavailable, not the man, which is really interesting.
So are you saying that often or almost always when probably either person, but in this case, the woman says that the man, they keep meaning men that are emotionally unavailable, or the man that they're with is emotionally unavailable, it's actually a mirror, and that they themselves are the ones who are emotionally unavailable?
Yeah, 100%. I would say almost always, because what often happens with these clients, and I've seen, is that the man, they'll come and tell me that the guy got in a relationship with the next girl. And this happens all the time, which is when they start to realize, oh my gosh, maybe it's me. And it's because a man, he cannot give you what you haven't yet given yourself, what, like I said, and in order for him to fall in love, he needs to connect with his heart. You have to be able to bring him into his heart. But if you are closed, if you're afraid of being hurt, afraid of being loved, afraid of being abandoned, you name it, then you are a woman who's operating within her masculine. You're operating within the mind. So you are not bringing him into his heart. You're closed off emotionally. You're not actually letting him see the true you. You're not actually vulnerable. You're not sharing your heart with him. And because of that, he's not connecting with your heart, and he shows up uninterested. And the same thing shows up all the time with women. It's, oh, I'm just not looking for that right now. Oh, this isn't, what is it? I'm just not ready for that. That one shows up a lot. I'm just not ready. The men will say that all the time, and the women will show up so confused. They'll tell me, he seemed really keen in the beginning. He was so excited before we went on our date, and then he never talked to me again after a date. And it's, well, because your heart has a 10-foot electromagnetic frequency, and when he got on the date with you, you were sending off all of these signals unconsciously and within your heart that you are closed for a relationship. So now he's basically just seeing you as somebody that he doesn't want to date, or somebody that he just wants something casual with, because he's not going to fall in love without the heart, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess this is a cliche, but every time you're noticing or being annoyed by other people for something that they do or a way that they are, you have to have a good look at yourself to see if they're
Yeah.
actually reflecting your own issues. Yes.
Yeah, totally. And this is why a lot of the content that I make to the women who eventually come to work with me, the content that I make on socials is like, okay, how many emotionally unavailable men are you going to meet until you realize you're the one who's emotionally unavailable, right? Because there's a story right now that every man is emotionally unavailable. Nobody wants anything serious. But we see men falling in love every single day. So what's happening here, right?
And was I interpreting what you said earlier correct, that a lot of them come to you saying he was emotionally unavailable, he said he wasn't ready for a relationship, and then a few weeks later he's in a relationship with somebody else?
Yeah, exactly. This happens all the time. Because women, they'll go look at his Facebook, or they'll go look at his Instagram, right? And then you'll see he's getting married. He's in a relationship. What happened? Right?
He just told me he wasn't ready for that a few weeks ago, and here he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is heartbreaking, but also has nothing to do with the woman, right? It has nothing to do with her as a person. It just has to do with, I truly do believe that if the guy you were dating ends up dating somebody else after you, or the guy you were seeing, he's just not the one. So I always tell women, don't like get all down on yourself and hard on yourself. He just isn't it. But what can we do to empower ourselves to move through the world differently? Yeah.
And so how do you help, if that's the most common challenge that, or at least a very common challenge that you're seeing right now, is women actually being emotionally unavailable and therefore mirroring that to the people that they're trying to date. How do you help them overcome that obstacle?
Yeah. So my process that I take women through is 6 months. Like right now I have a group program that's 6 months, and now all of my one-on-ones moving forward are going to be through this 6 months process. I've just been like refining and mastering this is like what we do, right? We're constantly refining and mastering. The more clients we have, we can really understand the process. So in order to heal the emotional unavailability, we have to understand that it starts with themselves, right? So most women who are emotionally unavailable, they're unavailable to themselves. There's a part of themselves that they're actually repressing and not in touch with, right? And that part often looks like the part of them that was neglected as a child, or abandoned, or wasn't loved, or wasn't accepted by the mother, or rejected, whatever it is. We have to start healing that relationship, which means that we often, the journey that I take women through is bringing awareness around their patterns, bringing awareness around their wounded feminine energy, their wounded maiden, I call it. It's like a princess energy, okay? And then from there, they go through this little awakening. And then we start to do the deep work, which is the mother wounds, the father wounds, we heal the inner child, the inner teenager, and we start to heal these parts, these fragments, and slowly take down these walls. Because women who are emotionally unavailable, like I said, it's to themselves. So they're actually completely disconnected from the part of themselves that's unfulfilled in their career, unfulfilled in how they dress, unhappy in so many different ways. They're just completely shut off from her, right? Because to face that part would be to face the pain and all these things. So there is a journey where they really do have to transform, or they don't have to, but they generally transform every single area of their life as they start to heal that emotional unavailability and really soften and go into their feminine energy, which is what ends up happening at the end. By the end, they're open-hearted, they are soft externally, they have strong boundaries internally so they can protect themselves, and they are available for love, but not just from a man, but from their clients, from the wealth, from life itself. So that's really the journey.
Fantastic. In that journey, or even beyond this, so whether you want to talk about this issue specifically or go beyond it to all of your coaching or even just life in general, what's one piece of wisdom that you consistently find yourself giving to, well, clients especially, but anybody?
Yeah, it's really to surrender. And that's such an interesting topic, and I'm running a program right now about it, but because it's like there's so much depth to it, but it's let go. Because
Mm.
if in your life you're experiencing the same patterns over and over, so whether it's the same men over and over or the same patterns in business, whatever it is, these patterns are happening because of choices you are making, right? And the choices we're making are generally coming from the mind. We're like thinking our way, right? We're thinking about what we want to say. We're thinking about the strategy. We're thinking about what we want to do. And that is the opposite of life. Life is just this, and we can say a lot of people like the feminine masculine, but it's just that part of you internally that's alive and connected to all that is. So when you can surrender to that, beautiful things happen, because now you're getting out of the mind, you're getting out of the patterns, you're getting out of the ego, you're getting out of who you've always been, and you're surrendering to who you are in this now moment, which is constantly changing, constantly evolving, right? And then what happens is life starts to flourish. So if a woman has been in the same pattern with men and she surrenders, she lets go of the usual response, she lets go of the usual things she does, and she just responds to what she's feeling in that moment, things start to change and they evolve and they grow, and we break out of the patterns, we break out of the stagnancy.
I love it. And you've got your bit of wisdom. You have an elevator pitch, but you also have that down to one word: surrender.
Yeah, surrender. Yeah, which it's a new program I'm running and I'm very excited. I haven't
Is
started
the
it yet.
program called Surrender?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm
Have
excited.
you read the Tao of Pooh by any chance?
No, I haven't.
Or okay, so for this is for you and for listeners, if any of that resonates with you, what Kelsey just said, you can find the audiobook free on YouTube if you want to listen to it. The Tao of Pooh, Tao is Tao. And I didn't know anything about Taoism. I thought I was a little bit of a secular Buddhist, but then my favorite movie is Everything Everywhere All at Once. And I was looking up this stuff behind that, and I thought it was Buddhist, but it turns out it's more Taoist. And I guess Zen Buddhism is where Taoism meets Buddhism. So that's Zen Buddhism is where I've learned a lot of this stuff that made me think I was a secular Buddhist, but actually I'm a Taoist. And basically Taoism boils down to go with the flow.
I
Stop
love
trying
that.
to fight against it, and I think with those of us who are different, go with that actual flow of who you are, not trying to fight against it and be what everybody else thinks you should be.
Yeah, I love that. And I have read a little bit of some stuff from the Tao, but not a lot. But I feel like it is something that I'm feeling called to do.
It's like
Yeah.
The Tao of Pooh is fantastic because it just uses the characters of Winnie the Pooh to explain Taoism, and I think it's actually, even though it's the Winnie the Pooh characters, it felt like it was actually more written for adults, but I'm sure kids could probably understand it as well. It's pretty simple, but yeah, when I listened to it, I just found that's just how I've been living my life, my whole life. So it just resonates with me that there's not a whole lot you need to, well, you're not doing anything other than surrendering.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, I love that.
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
it's a simple philosophy.
And there's a book called Letting Go, and he talks about this. Well, I know I'm supposed to let go, but how do I do it? And it's just imagine you're holding a ball. Now stop holding the ball. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Let go. It's
It's so
simple,
simple.
just not easy.
Yeah, yeah, which is most truth, right? Simple, but not easy.
Yeah. So now we're coming to the end of our time here. I'll just ask two last questions to make sure that we've covered everything that we want to. So either both of these questions the answer can just be no, that's perfectly fine, or if you have something, that's fine as well. So is there anything that we started talking about that you didn't get to say as much as you wanted to because we headed off in a different direction?
No, I think we did pretty good.
And then a little bit broader than that, is there, because I'm just getting to know you myself, Kelsey, and you've known yourself a lot longer than that, is there anything about you, your philosophy, and your work that I didn't even know to bring up that would be a glaring omission in the life and work of Kelsey Lima?
Yes, that's such a beautiful question. And it's like such an interesting one.
I stole it, by the way. There's a podcast called Broccoli and Ice Cream by one of my favorite comedians, Mike Kaplan. Check it out. But he always asks those last two questions at the end of his interviews, and they're perfect questions, so I've stolen them.
Yeah, I love that. I think like one of the things that I do want to share, and I am like really integrating right now, is that I think that it's really just understanding that, and I think it's part of the surrender, right? And it's part of the trust, is like every situation and everything in life is always right. And I think that this is so helpful for women, for men. It's like everything that you are being given is right, is good, whether it's for your healing or whether it's for your growth or whatever it is. Because if I look back on my life, if I look back on like all the experiences I've had, I've lost my mom, I've lost my dad, I've been divorced, I've been all of these things. When I truly look back at everything, it all connects and makes sense.
Did you ever think of being a country music singer?
I should, yeah. I have so much to think about, totally. Yeah, no, I prefer to just post memes on Instagram and it's easier. I don't know how you guys would like my country singing too. Yeah, and it's if I could have just understood this later, like earlier, truly to just trust that everything was exactly as it was meant to be, I think that my life would have been so much easier, because we really do, like, any women that might listen to this, you're fighting in relationships, you're fighting when he wants to leave, you're fighting your circumstances, and it's like there's an easier path. There really is an easier path when we just let go. So I think that's like just really the last thing that I just want to motivate people with. It's not that hard. There's a path. I like the word God, but God, universe, whatever you want to call it, really is trying to guide you to the place that you know you want to go. But could you actually just let yourself be guided there versus trying to control the entire thing? That's it.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
That's amen to that. And I'll say the universe. So thank you very much for that. Now, there's two main audience members that I like for this podcast. There's people who just either already have a coach, they're not ready for a coach, whatever, and just want to listen for free to hear all these different coaches with all these different approaches and all these different things that they work on. They can glean whatever they can from each episode. Sometimes, though, there's going to be people listening, like today, there are people listening who go, oh my God, I need Kelsey Lima in my life to help me learn to surrender and to be what I'm meant to be. So those people that are wanting to seek you out, how do they find you, Kelsey?
So I would say the easiest way is through Instagram or Facebook. And it's on Facebook, it's Kelsey Lima, or Instagram, it's Kelsey Lima Official.
And I'll just get you to spell those, just even though they seem like perfectly normal spellings to me, but you never know.
Yeah, so it's KelseyLima. So you can just send me a message. If you go on Facebook, you can literally just book a call with me and go from there. But I'm always bringing women into union. It is like our bread and butter, our signature offer, and I love it so, so much. And the girls in it are constantly just evolving and growing. So that would be the coolest thing. And yeah, just message me and we'll go from there.
Fantastic, Kelsey. And you can find me and all my links at jeremywest.net, including a link to all of the episodes of this show. And thank you very much, Kelsey. We'll talk to you again soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jeremy. This was so great.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.